That poor woman I married thinks she has sense. I will divorce her. Let her pack herself and the children. I'm tired. My wife deceived me. She hid her true identity that her father was rich. Now I want full custody of the children and half of what she inherited.
Hey there. Pour a cup of tea, get comfy, and let your heart listen. The story's about to start. Welcome to Tales Vibe, where laughter and lessons flow together. If you love a good story, don't forget to like this video, subscribe for more tales every week, and please tell us where you're watching from in the comments. We'd love to know where our story family is tuning in from. 3 months after Morayo Adeyemi walked out of the Christmas party with her head high and her heart broken, Ademola Adeyemi made his move. He did not call her. He did not ask to see the twins. He went straight to court. The papers arrived early in the day. Morayo was 7 months pregnant when she received them. She read every line slowly. Ademola was asking for full custody of Ademola and Deo. Not shared custody. Not visitation. Full custody. He was also asking for half of everything she inherited from her late father. The reason he gave was simple. He claimed Morayo deceived him. He said she hid her true identity. He said their marriage was built on lies. Morayo did not cry. She did not shout. She did not panic. She had lived with Ademola long enough to understand what this was. It was not love for the children. It was fear. Fear mixed with greed. Ademola had always believed he was smarter than Morayo. Throughout their marriage, he made decisions alone. He spoke over her. He told her what was best. When she disagreed, he laughed it off and said she worried too much. At the Christmas party, he watched his mistress, Amaka, mock Morayo in front of powerful people. He did nothing. He believed Morayo would swallow the shame like she always did. But Morayo left that night. What Ademola did not understand was this. Morayo did not just leave the party. She left the version of herself that waited for permission. Ademola believed money was power. He believed lawyers were tools. He believed the system would bend for him. What he did not know was that the same system he trusted already belonged to Morayo. Her late father, Chief Musabello, had prepared for this kind of man. Not because he hated Ademola, but because he understood men like him. Men who smiled while planning destruction. Men who waited for the right moment to strike. Ademola signed the custody papers with confidence. He told his friends Morayo would settle quietly. He told Amaka the children would soon live with him. He told himself Morayo would not fight. He was wrong. When Morayo finished reading the documents, she placed them on the table without shaking. She rested one hand on her stomach and felt her unborn child move. She did not think of revenge. She thought of her children. She knew one thing clearly now. Ademola was not coming for justice. He was coming for control. And Morayo Adeyemi was done being controlled. This was only the beginning. Morayo did not sleep after the court papers arrived. She stayed awake, not pacing, not crying, just thinking. By morning, she had already accepted something important. Ademola was not acting out of anger. This move was planned. And plans always leave traces. Before noon, Alhaji Sadiq Lawan arrived. He had worked with her father for over 20 years. He was quiet, careful, and never spoke unless necessary. Since Morayo inherited everything, he had become her guide, not her boss. She handed him the court papers without a word. He read them once. Then he nodded slowly, as if confirming something he already knew. "There is something your father left for you," he said. "I was waiting for the right time." Morayo followed him into her father's private study. She had avoided the room since his death. It felt heavy, full of answers she was not ready to face. Alhaji Sadiq unlocked a cabinet and pulled out a thick brown file. On the front was a single line written in black ink. Ademola Adeyemi, watch closely. Morayo's chest tightened. "He started this 2 years ago," Alhaji Sadiq said. "Your father believed information is protection." Morayo opened the file. Inside were documents, messages, bank records, and reports. Each page peeled back a version of her marriage she never knew existed. There were records of multiple affairs, not just Amaka. Names she recognized. One woman had smiled at her during school events. Another had eaten in her house. There were bank statements showing credit cards opened in Morayo's name. Debts she never approved. Plans to hide them until the right moment. Then came the messages. Ademola writing to a lawyer months before the Christmas party. Asking how to claim Morayo was unstable. Asking how to secure full custody. Asking how to make her look unfit. He had planned to leave her when he believed she had nothing. Morayo's hands trembled, but she did not stop reading. The worst part was not the cheating. It was not the money. It was a message sent 6 months earlier. She has no power, no support. Once I say she's not okay upstairs, the kids are mine. Morayo closed the file. For a long moment no one spoke. Her children were playing in the next room, laughing. The sound grounded her. Ademola did not change because she became rich. He only revealed who he had always been. Alhaji Sadiq watched her carefully. Your father hoped you would never need this, he said. But he prepared it anyway. Morayo stood up slowly. Her body was tired, but her mind was clear. So this is not a fight that just started, she said. No, Alhaji Sadiq replied. This is a fight he started long ago. Morayo placed the file back on the table. Ademola thought he was ahead. He did not know he was already exposed. And Morayo Adeyemi finally understood something simple and painful. She was never weak. She was only uninformed. That was about to change. Morayo closed the file and did not open it again that day. She did not need to. The truth had already settled in her chest. Ademola's move was not emotional. It was strategic. And strategy always looks for an audience. 3 days later, he found one. The interview appeared everywhere. Television, online clips, short videos shared again and again. Ademola sat in a borrowed apartment, dressed simply, his voice low and careful. He spoke about betrayal. He said Morayo hid who she was. He said she married him under false pretenses. He said she changed overnight after inheriting wealth. He spoke slowly, like a man choosing his pain carefully. I just want my children, he said. I'm fighting a system that protects the rich. People listened. Some nodded. Some shared the video. Some praised his calmness. Morayo watched the interview alone. She recognized every pause, every soft sigh, every look into the camera. She had seen that face before. The face Ademola used when he needed her to believe something that was not true. He never mentioned the debts. He never mentioned the affairs. He never mentioned the plans he made before she had money. He painted himself as small and honest. He painted Morayo as powerful and cold. Messages started coming in. Old friends asking questions. Distant relatives offering advice. Strangers sending insults. Gold digger. Manipulator. Heartless woman. Morayo read none of them after the first few minutes. She turned off her phone and placed her hand on her stomach. The baby moved gently. It reminded her that this story was no longer only about her. Ademola smiled on the screen as he spoke about love and sacrifice. But Morayo knew something he did not. Every word he said was recorded. Every lie was documented. Every story he told had an answer waiting. What Ademola thought was bravery was actually evidence. Later that evening, Alhaji Sadiq came in quietly. He did not need to ask if she had seen the interview. Her face said enough. He is forcing your hand, he said. Morayo nodded. He thinks silence is weakness. Yes, Alhaji Sadiq replied. And he believes the public will protect him. Morayo stood up slowly. Her back ached, but her voice was steady. Then he does not understand me at all, she said. She walked to the window not to look outside, but to think clearly. Ademola wanted sympathy. He wanted pressure. He wanted Morayo to rush into a mistake. Instead, he had given her something far more valuable. Time. Time to prepare. Time to decide how to speak. Time to choose truth over emotion. When Morayo turned back to Alhaji Sadiq, her decision was made. He spoke to the whole country, she said. Now it's my turn. Alhaji Sadiq studied her face and gave a small nod. Then we do it properly. Morayo did not raise her voice. She did not threaten. She did not rush. But one thing was clear. Ademola had stepped into the light, and Morayo Adeyemi was no longer afraid to follow him there. The night after the interview, Morayo did not sleep. Not because she was afraid, but because her mind was too awake. Ademola's voice kept replaying in her head. Not the words, but the confidence behind them. He truly believed he had won something. By morning, the house was quiet. The twins were still asleep. Morayo sat alone with a cup of tea she barely touched. She knew one thing clearly now. If she stayed silent, Ademola's story would become the truth. Not because it was right, but because it was loud. Alhaji Sadiq arrived early. He carried no files this time, only a tablet. He placed it on the table and said nothing. Morayo did not need explanations. The screen showed clipped versions of Ademola's interview spreading online. "He has momentum," Alhaji Sadiq said calmly. "This is what your father warned about. Silence creates space for lies." Morayo nodded. "I know." She looked down at her hands. They were steady. That surprised her. 3 months ago, this kind of attention would have crushed her. Now it only made things clear. "I won't answer him with emotion," she said. "I won't beg or explain." Alhaji Sadiq watched her closely. "Then how?" "With facts," Morayo replied. "Only facts." She stood up slowly and walked to the cabinet where the file was kept. She pulled it out and placed it on the table between them. "This ends when the truth is seen," she said. "Not whispered. Seen." Alhaji Sadiq understood what that meant. "You want to go public?" "Yes," Morayo said. "Properly." He hesitated for a moment. "Once you speak, you cannot take it back. People will judge you. Some will twist it." Morayo placed one hand on her stomach. The baby moved again, firm and steady. "My children are already seeing lies on screens," she said. "I won't let them grow up thinking their mother was silent because she was guilty." She thought of Ademola asking quiet questions, of Deo watching her closely, learning what strength looked like. "Call a press conference," she said. "Tomorrow morning." Alhaji Sadiq raised his eyes. "Tomorrow is fast." "That is the point," Morayo replied. "Every hour I wait, his story grows." She did not shout. She did not cry. Her voice was low and firm. "I am done waiting for the right time. The right time is when the truth is ready." Alhaji Sadiq nodded slowly. "Your father used to say the same thing." Morayo allowed herself a small breath. Not relief, not fear. Decision. They spent the rest of the morning preparing. Not speeches. Not drama. Evidence. Messages. Dates. Records. Clips. Morayo refused rehearsed lines. "I will speak plainly," she said. "No performance." When evening came, she stood alone in her room and looked at her reflection. Not searching for strength, but recognizing it. Ademola had spoken to win sympathy. Morayo would speak to end the lie. And once she did, there would be no going back. For the first time since the Christmas party, Morayo Adeyemi felt something settle inside her. She was ready. The morning came quickly. Morayo dressed simply. No heavy makeup. No statement clothes. She did not want to look powerful or pitiful. She wanted to look honest. Alhaji Sadiq stood beside her as they entered the room. Cameras were already set. Reporters whispered. Phones were raised. Everyone expected emotion. Many expected drama. Morayo stood at the podium and waited until the room settled. "My name is Morayo Adeyemi," she began. Her voice was clear. 3 months ago, I learned my father had passed away and left me an inheritance I did not know existed. I am still learning how to live with that reality. She paused, not for effect, but to breathe. 3 days ago, my ex-husband, Ademola Adeyemi, went on television and told a story about me. Today, I am not here to argue with him. I am here to show the truth. She nodded slightly to the side. The screen behind her lit up. The first slide showed messages. Dates were clear. 6 months before the Christmas party. 6 months before she knew anything about money. Ademola's words filled the screen. Plans to divorce. Plans to claim she was unstable. Plans to take the children. The room went quiet. Morayo spoke again. These messages were written when I had no wealth, no power, and no protection. Another slide appeared. Bank records followed. Credit cards opened in her name. Debts she never approved. I was not careless, she said. I was deceived. Then the audio played. Ademola's voice, calm, calculated, talking to a lawyer about custody, about fear, about pressure. Some reporters looked down. Others leaned forward. The final clip was the hardest. Video from the Christmas party. Ademola standing beside Amaka while Morayo was mocked. Ademola telling his child to listen to Amaka instead of his mother. Morayo did not look at the screen. She had seen it enough. When I left that night, she said, I did not leave because of money. I left because I understood something about my marriage that I could no longer ignore. She faced the cameras again. I did not hide who I was, she said calmly. I did not even know. The room erupted with questions. Voices overlapped. Accusations flew. Morayo raised one hand. I will not answer questions today, she said. Everything I needed to say has already been said by my ex-husband. In his own words. She stepped away from the podium. Cameras flashed harder. Reporters shouted her name. But Morayo did not turn back. Outside, Alhaji Sadiq waited. He did not speak. He did not need to. Within minutes, clips were spreading. Side-by-side videos. Ademola's interview against his messages. His tears against his plans. The story was changing. Morayo sat quietly in the car, one hand on her stomach, feeling her child move. She did not feel victorious. She felt finished. Ademola had wanted the public. Now the public had the truth. And nothing would ever be the same again. The press conference did not end the noise. It shifted it. By evening, Ademola's interview was everywhere again. But this time with captions, pauses, and comparisons. Legal analysts spoke. Commentators replayed his words and matched them to the evidence Morayo released. 2 days later, the court date was confirmed. Morayo focused on what mattered. She stayed close to her children. She kept her routine steady. She refused to read opinions. On the morning of the hearing, Ademola stood in front of her, already dressed. Are we going to see Daddy today? He asked quietly. Morayo knelt slowly, careful with her body. She met his eyes. Yes, she said. We are going to court. The judge will ask questions and decide what is best for you and your sister. Deo said nothing. He only held her hand tighter. Morayo did not promise outcomes. She promised safety. At the courthouse, cameras waited. Questions were shouted. Officer Idris Balagan and his team guided Morayo through without stopping. She did not look for Ademola. She did not need to. Inside the courtroom, the space felt smaller than she expected. Clean, quiet, focused. Ademola arrived with his lawyers. He looked thinner. His confidence was still there, but it was forced. When their eyes met briefly, Morayo saw something new. Uncertainty. Justice Zainab Sadia entered and took her seat. Her voice was firm. This is a custody hearing, she said. Not a media trial. I care about 2 children and nothing else. She looked first at Ademola, then at Morayo. Emotions and money will not decide this case, the judge continued. Facts will. Ademola's lawyer stood. He spoke smoothly. He talked about fatherhood, about involvement, about shared responsibility. He presented photos, school events, family moments. Morayo listened without reacting. When the lawyer finished, Justice Zainab turned to Morayo's side. Proceed, she said. Barrister Ifunanya Okeke stood slowly. She did not rush. Your Honor, she said. This case is not about who looks like a good parent in public. It is about who acted in good faith when no one was watching. She clicked a remote. The screen behind her came on. A timeline appeared. Dates, messages, bank records, plans. Ademola shifted in his seat. Morayo watched the judge, not him. This was not about winning anymore. It was about being seen clearly. And for the first time since the papers arrived, Morayo felt something lift. She had already told the truth. Now she only had to let it stand. Barrister Ifunanya did not raise her voice. She did not accuse. She did not dramatize. She let the facts speak. She walked the court through the timeline slowly, not skipping anything, not rushing the hard parts. These messages, she said, pointing to the screen, were sent 6 months before my client knew anything about an inheritance. The judge leaned forward. Messages appeared one after another. Ademola discussing divorce. Ademola asking how to claim Morayo was unstable. Ademola asking how to take the children completely. No emotion in the words, only planning. These are not reactions, Barrister Ifunanya continued. They are intentions. Ademola's lawyer shifted in his seat but said nothing. Next came the financial records, credit cards, statements, debts opened under Morayo's name. She did not approve these, Barrister Ifunanya said. She did not know they existed. The judge made notes. Then came the audio. Ademola's voice filled the courtroom, calm, confident, talking about pressure, about fear, about how Morayo would accept anything once she was threatened with losing the children. Morayo did not look at Ademola. She kept her eyes on the judge. Barrister Ifunanya paused the audio. This, she said, is not a man protecting his children. This is a man planning to use them. The final evidence was brief, but heavy. A recording from the Christmas party. A child's voice, small, confused. But Daddy said this is a family party. Then Ademola's reply, cold, clear. Listen to Amaka. The courtroom went silent. Justice Zainab removed her glasses slowly. She looked at Ademola. Stand up, she said. He did. I have seen parents fight out of anger, she said. I have seen parents fight out of pride. But what I see here is something else. She tapped the file in front of her. These actions were planned before money entered this story, before publicity, before pressure. Ademola opened his mouth. His lawyer moved to speak. The judge raised her hand. You did not act for your children, she said. You acted for control. Ademola's voice broke. I love my kids. Justice Zainab looked at him steadily. Then explain why, in years of messages, you mentioned them only when discussing leverage. He had no answer. She closed the file. Here is my ruling, she said. Full physical custody to Morayo Adeyemi. Supervised visitation for Ademola Adeyemi. No decision-making authority. Any violation ends visitation entirely. The gavel came down. The case was over. Ademola sank back into his chair. Morayo remained seated, one hand resting on her stomach, feeling her child move. She did not smile. She did not celebrate. She simply breathed. The truth had done its work. And Morayo Adeyemi walked out of the courtroom knowing one thing for certain. This chapter of fear was finished. Morayo walked out of the courtroom without stopping. Cameras rushed forward. Voices called her name. Officer Idris kept the path clear. She stayed focused on her breathing, on the steady weight of the moment settling behind her. It was over, or so she thought. Just as she reached the steps outside, a voice cut through the noise. Morayo Adeyemi, one question. She stopped. The woman holding the microphone stepped forward. She was young, sharp, and did not belong to the major stations that had spent days praising Morayo. Her badge read Ngozi. Is it true your father's wealth came from illegal businesses? Ngozi asked. Is that why it was hidden? The words hit harder than the custody ruling. Morayo turned slowly. What are you talking about? Ngozi did not flinch. There are offshore accounts, shell companies, payments that don't add up. Some sources say your father wasn't just a businessman. For the first time in weeks, Morayo felt the ground shift under her. Alhaji Sadiq stepped forward. No comment, he said firmly, but Morayo raised her hand. Wait, she said. She looked at Ngozi. Do you have proof? Ngozi hesitated. We're still investigating, but there's enough to ask questions. That was enough. Morayo turned away and continued walking, but the question followed her into the car. into the silence that came after the noise faded. At home, she sat in her father's study again. The same desk, the same locked cabinets, the same questions she had avoided. Alhaji Sadiq sat across from her, his face serious. "Tell me the truth," Morayo said. "All of it." He exhaled slowly. "Your father was not a simple man," he said. "Some of his businesses were clean. Some were protected by distance." "That's not an answer," Morayo replied. Alhaji Sadiq met her eyes. "He operated in places where laws are flexible. He invested in companies he did not fully control. Some things were legal. Some were not clearly illegal. Some were wrong." Morayo felt tears rise but did not let them fall. "Did he hurt people?" she asked. "It is possible," Alhaji Sadiq said. "But he also saved many lives, funded hospitals, paid school fees, protected people who had no voice." Morayo leaned back, overwhelmed. She had fought Ademola with truth. Now she faced something harder. Her own foundation. She had inherited wealth. She had used it. She had defended herself with it. But she did not know where all of it came from. That night, she could not sleep. Not because of fear, because she realized something terrifying. Power without clarity was not freedom. It was another kind of trap. And this time, silence would not protect her. Not anymore. Morayo did not rush her decision. The accusation sat with her for days. Not in public, but in private. In quiet moments. In the space between feeding the twins and doctor visits. In the pause before sleep. She kept thinking about Ngozi's question. Not because it threatened her image, but because it threatened her conscience. If the money was dirty, then everything she had built since the Christmas party stood on weak ground. On the fourth night, Morayo called Alhaji Sadiq back into her father's study. "I want to know everything," she said. "Not summaries, not protection. Everything." Alhaji Sadiq nodded. "That means opening doors your father kept locked." "Then open them," Morayo replied. The audit began immediately. Accountants came in quietly. Lawyers reviewed decades of records. Transactions were traced. Shell companies were mapped. Nothing was hidden. Nothing was softened. 2 weeks into the process, Morayo gave birth to a baby girl. She named her Zara. Holding her daughter for the first time changed nothing and everything at once. It did not distract her from the truth. It sharpened it. When the full report arrived, Morayo read it herself. Some of the money was clean. Businesses that built real value. Investments that created jobs. Some of it sat in gray spaces. Legal but questionable. Profits made from silence and advantage. And some of it was wrong. Clear. Undeniable. Built on harm. Morayo closed the report and sat quietly for a long time. Then she made her choice. "Sell it," she said. Alhaji Sadiq looked up. "All of it. All of it," Morayo repeated. "Every part that cannot stand in daylight." The sales were fast and public. No quiet transfers. No hidden corrections. She called another press briefing. This time, she brought no screens of evidence against anyone else. Only herself. "My father built an empire in secret," she said. "Some of it was built in ways I cannot defend. I am divesting from every unethical investment." She announced donations, reparations, closures. People called her foolish, reckless, weak. Financial analysts mocked her. Commentators said she did not understand wealth. Morayo did not respond. She watched Zara sleep. She helped the twins with homework. She lived inside her decision. Weeks later, Ademola tried again. He filed another motion, claiming Morayo was unstable for giving away money meant for the children. The court dismissed it in 2 days. Justice Zainab wrote a short ruling. "Choosing integrity is not instability." Morayo read those words and felt something release inside her. For the first time since inheriting the money, she felt clean. She had not saved the world, but she had chosen not to build her children's future on harm. And that choice mattered. More than power, more than image, more than fear. She had chosen what was right, and she was ready to live with it. The noise did not disappear after Morayo's decision. It faded slowly, like a sound losing strength. Ademola's visits continued for a while, 2 hours at a time, always supervised, always careful. The twins were polite, but distant. They answered his questions without warmth. After a few months, Ademola began missing appointments. At first, he sent excuses, then messages, then nothing. Morayo did not ask why. She focused on building what came next. She registered a foundation in Nigeria to support women leaving abusive marriages. It offered legal help, counseling, and temporary support. No cameras, no speeches, just work. 1 year later, Morayo stood in the same hotel where everything had started. This time, she was hosting a fundraiser for the foundation. The guest list was different. No men chasing power. No women forced to smile. Just people who understood survival. Ademola and Deo helped hand out programs. Zara slept nearby, unaware of the weight her mother had carried before she was born. Alhaji Sadiq stood beside Morayo, watching quietly. "Your father planned that Christmas night for years," he said. He knew Ademola would be there. He knew the truth would surface. Morayo frowned. "He wanted Ademola disgraced?" "No," Alhaji Sadiq replied. "He wanted you free. He knew you would not leave on your own." Morayo absorbed that slowly. Months later, Ademola sent a letter. Not through lawyers. Handwritten. Short. He apologized. He did not defend himself. He did not ask for forgiveness. He asked for a chance to see the children again. Morayo thought about it for days. Then she agreed. Supervised visits. Public places. Her presence required. When Ademola saw the children again, he looked smaller. Quieter. He thanked Morayo once. She nodded. Nothing more. Years passed. Morayo later spoke before lawmakers about hidden wealth systems and accountability. She explained how money disappears and how silence helps it. She did not defend her father. She explained him. Some praised her. Some called her a traitor. She did not respond. One night, after the children were asleep, Morayo opened her father's final letter again. She had read it many times. This time, she noticed the last line, written small at the bottom. "You were always enough." She closed the letter. Morayo Adeyemi was no longer trying to prove anything. Not to Ademola. Not to the public. Not even to her father. She had chosen truth when silence was easier. She had chosen integrity when wealth was safer. She had chosen her children over control. This was not a perfect ending. It was a real one, and Morayo Adeyemi accepted it fully. And that's the end of today's tale. We hope it brought a smile, a thought, or a little bit of magic to your day. If you enjoyed the story, please like the video, subscribe to Tales Vibe for more weekly tales, and tell us in the comments where you're watching from. We love hearing from our story family all around the world. Until next time, keep your heart open, your imagination alive, and remember, laughter and lessons always go hand in hand. See you in the next story.